Hi dear students, let us discuss about a very important concept of microorganisms, friends and foe, which is nothing but nitrogen cycle. Children, we all know that nitrogen is a very essential nutrient for the plants, and especially those plants which are preparing proteins as the food material. Those plants require a lot of nitrogen. Now, in the previous videos, we studied that one of the bacteria, that is rhizobium, helps in the fixation of nitrogen. Now, during the fixation, what will happen? Basically, the nitrogen which is there, its amount is really high in the atmosphere. It is there in the gaseous form. We know that almost 70 to 72% of the air is nothing but the nitrogen. But this nitrogen which is there in the gaseous form is of no use for the plants, because the plants can take up carbon dioxide directly, but they cannot take nitrogen and use it in its direct form. So basically, these plants are dependent on the other factors which can help them to convert this atmospheric nitrogen into a form which can be absorbed through the root with the water. In that case, what will happen? The atmospheric nitrogen which is there, it is consumed by the rhizobium, and this rhizobium bacteria converts that nitrogen into the compounds of nitrogen into the soil, which can be taken up by the plants through their roots along with the water, and the plants utilize it for the production of proteins in them. So this is what happens with the help of rhizobium. And then we also know that whenever lightning occurs, the lightning directly converts most of the atmospheric nitrogen into the usable form of nitrogen compounds into the soil. But then we never said that or never observed that the concentration of nitrogen keeps fluctuating, right? The amount of nitrogen in the atmosphere remains the same. No matter whether the bacteria is converting nitrogen into the nitrogen compounds into the soil, or the lightning is fixing some of the nitrogen into nitrogenous compounds in the soil, no matter what is happening, the amount of nitrogen in the atmosphere remains same. It remains constant. It doesn't change. How this is happening? That is what we are going to explore under the concept nitrogen cycle. So let's get started without any wait. So we know that the nitrogen is plenty in the atmosphere in the form of gas. So we have nitrogen in the atmosphere as atmospheric nitrogen. So this N2 which I am talking about is the atmospheric nitrogen. So what happens is this atmospheric nitrogen, due to the bacterial fixation, bacteria like rhizobium, azotobacter or cyanobacteria, they convert the nitrogenous atmospheric nitrogen into nitrogen compounds in the soil. They convert them into nitrogen compounds in the soil. Now this nitrogen compounds which are there, they can be easily taken up by the plants through their roots along with the water which they absorb, and these plants will utilize it for the production of proteins. Now these proteins or the direct plants which are having proteins in them are consumed by the animals, and human beings are included in this. So these animals, whenever they excrete or they die, they release the nitrogen compounds back into the soil. Now this nitrogen compounds which are there in the soil can be again subjected to the bacterial fixation, wherein here not the rhizobium but the other special type of bacteria convert the nitrogen compounds in the soil back to the atmospheric nitrogen. So here what is happening? One of the types of bacteria are converting atmospheric nitrogen into nitrogen compounds, and the other type of bacteria is converting nitrogen compounds in the soil into atmospheric nitrogen. So this is how the nitrogen which was fixed by the bacteria will be released back into the atmosphere. Apart from that, this atmospheric nitrogen which is there, it can be directly converted to the nitrogen compounds in the soil by the process called lightning. Same process continues. One is due to the lightning process, whatever the nitrogen was given to the soil will be taken up back after the bacterial fixation, which converts the nitrogen compounds in the soil to the atmospheric nitrogen. So this cycle keeps continuing on a daily basis, and that's the reason why the atmospheric nitrogen level will never go down. It remains constant. So this is one of the concepts that we were supposed to discuss under the chapter Microorganisms, Friends and Foes. I hope you understood this. If you have any queries, I welcome your comments. Thank you so much, students. See you in the next video.